What's happening everyone, my name is Alex and welcome back. In today's video we are checking out one of the latest premium dash cameras from IROAD called the X10. So this is a dual channel dash camera system. That means that you have one camera recording in front of the car, and that's the main camera, the one that records in front of the car. This is the main unit. This one has a field of view of 165 degrees, which is basically wider than most dash cameras available on the market. And this can also record in 4K at 30 frames per second. And then you have the second camera that records in the back of your vehicle. This one has a field of view of 145 degrees, and this one records in 1080p at 30 frames per second. So both cameras record on the same SD card that's located in the main unit, and this camera can take SD cards up to 256 gigs. Now, like most dash camera systems these days, this one has a GPS unit. You can use it with a GPS unit or without, it's entirely up to you. But if you do use the GPS unit to the camera will save your location and speed at all times. And if you use the IROAD viewer on your computer, this is available for Windows or Mac, you can also see the speed and the location of each recording at all times. So that's important if there is like an accident happening or something like that, so you know the exact location. This camera can also make a Wi-Fi network, and you can control the camera from your smartphone. So you basically connect to the camera with your smartphone. There is a free application called IROAD. And from that application, you can change settings, you can view whatever recordings you have on the dash camera, you can download those recordings and so on. Now, this camera is sold exclusively in North America by Black Box My Car, and they're the ones that actually sent this camera for review. And as always, there will be some links in the video's description just in case you want to check it out. Alright, so powering this dash camera is also a bit different than other dash cameras that I've tried in the past. So first of all, you could hardwire this to your car's battery. There is a cable for that, but you can also power it from the OBD port inside your vehicle. Most vehicles these days have an OBD port, unless you have a Tesla Model 3 like me, and then there is no OBD port, so you wouldn't be able to use this with that. You'd have to use this cable. Now, I believe that Black Box My Car has an offer where they send you a free OBD power cable, but definitely check their website for more information. What they sent me was the IROAD X scanner. So aside from powering the dash camera, this also pulls information from the vehicle and sends all that information to the dash camera, and you can access it from the IROAD app. So you can see your speed, you can see the fuel consumption and so on. Now, unfortunately, my second vehicle, which is a Mazda, isn't supported by this OBD scanner. So I wasn't able to experience everything, but here is a list of all the other manufacturers that can be used with the OBD scanner. So it is unfortunate I wasn't able to experience it, but for all the other brands in that list, you should be able to see all that information through the app from the camera, basically. Alright, so for a super quick unboxing, the dash camera comes in this box, and inside the box you're gonna find everything you need for the installation process. There is also a user manual in there, and I highly recommend that you check out the user manual because there are a couple of things that you aren't gonna know unless you actually check this, like the Wi-Fi password for the dash camera to access it from your smartphone through the IROAD app. Aside from this, you're gonna find the power cable depending on the configuration you choose. We also have two of these mounts, so these attach the windshield and the rear window of your vehicle with stickers, and there are also two replacement stickers that come in the box. You're gonna find the cable between the rear camera and the front camera, and this is a pretty long cable, and the biggest challenge here will actually be finding a place to hide the remaining cable, because it's pretty long. So unless you have like a minivan, you'll probably have some cable left. Of course, you're gonna find the GPS unit and the SD card depending on your configuration once again. The IROAD brand is also well known for its heat resistance, so it doesn't matter how hot it gets, if this sits in direct sunlight, nothing will happen to this. So that's what IROAD is well known for, the heat resistance. The dash camera itself is mostly made out of plastic, aside from the lens. Here, of course, the lens is covered by glass. You can also move the camera up or down depending how this is positioned on your windshield. And on the front here, we also have a security light. You can turn that on or off, but you can't really notice that unless it's dark out, I've noticed. So if it's super sunny out, you're not gonna notice that security light. You can notice it much better when it gets dark. So on the back of the camera we have a bunch of ports. We have the GPS port, the OBD port, the micro USB port for that rear camera, the power cable, and then the USB-A for the Wi-Fi dongle. You can remove the Wi-Fi dongle if you don't want the camera to make a Wi-Fi network, but if you want to control it from your smartphone, you definitely need that Wi-Fi dongle. So that's about it for the main unit. It is super small and you can barely see it from the outside. The rear camera is much smaller, of course. We have the micro USB port on the side here, and this is also adjustable, so you can move it up or down, and the lens is covered by glass. And there is also an LED around the rear camera there, but once again, if it's not dark out, you're not going to be able to see that LED. Alright, so next we are moving on to the most important thing for any dash camera, and that is the video quality. So first we're going to check out some sample recordings that I've done with the front and the rear camera during the day. The recordings down the front camera were done in 4K and the rear camera in 1080p. So let's check those out and I'll come back after so we can talk about them. And as you've seen for yourself, the footage from the main unit, so the front camera in 4K, it's super sharp and you can clearly see all the license plates around you. Not to mention that since you're recording in 4K, you can actually zoom in those recordings, so you can actually see those license plates even if they were a bit further away. The same kind of goes for the rear camera, but with this one, since we are recording in 1080p, you're not going to be able to zoom in as much as you would with the main unit, of course, because that's in 4K. But overall, I am very happy with the daytime recordings that I got with the front and the rear cameras. Next, we're going to move on and check out some nighttime recordings that I've done with these. And once again, I've done 4K with the front and 1080p at 30 frames per second with the back. So let's check out those recordings. And as you've seen for yourself, of course, the nighttime recordings aren't gonna be as good as the daytime recordings, but that is the case for all cameras, all dash cameras, all phone cameras. Basically, all cameras don't do as good at night as they do during the day, but you can still see those license plates depending on how the lights are hitting those license plates, because if a car is pointing their headlights towards a license plate, you may not necessarily see it. But overall, I am happy by the nighttime recordings that I got from the front and the rear cameras. Like most premium dash camera systems, this one has a lane departure warning system, a front collision warning system, and of course a front vehicle departure warning. But in order to use those, you're gonna need to use the GPS unit with this dash camera, otherwise you're not gonna be able to use that. But a lot of cars these days do have those systems in place, like with the car itself, so you don't necessarily need to use the dash camera for that. Since this is on constantly because it's connected to that OBD port in your vehicle, this also has a parking monitor, and the dash camera will sense whenever you're not driving and it will switch itself to that parking monitor feature. So every time something moves around the car, it will start recording. And you can change all that from the settings. And something very important is the ability for the dash camera to check the voltage of your car's battery and shut down the camera when that's too low, because you definitely don't want the dash camera to kill your battery, so then you cannot start your car. So a lot of very interesting features with this dash camera. If the dash camera senses an impact or a sudden movement, it will also lock that particular video file so it doesn't get deleted, because the camera does support a loop recording. That means that every time the SD card is full, the camera will start overwriting the older files. So if you have that off, this way that particular file from the impact or the sudden movement that happened will not get deleted. So yeah, this is the IROAD X10. So if you're looking for a premium dash camera for your vehicle, you should definitely check this one out. I really like this OBD X scanner. I like the ability to be able to see the fuel consumption and a bunch of other information live on my phone about the car. And too bad that it doesn't work for Mazda, so you can actually experience it more. But as I said, for all the other brands, it should be fine. So if you're looking for a good dash camera, this is definitely one that you should consider. Alright guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one.